Good morning. I am A.S. Revati, PhD scholar, Department of Educational Psychology, Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, Karapakkam, Chennai. My guide, Dr. P.N. Lakshmi Shanmugam, Assistant Professor, Department of Educational Psychology, Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, Karapakkam, Chennai. Today my topic, Field Theory for Lewin's theory. Objectives. After completing this model, the prospective teachers are able to acquire knowledge about the Lewin's field theory of learning, understand the terms concept of psychology environments, apply the knowledge to analyze the functions of life space, develop skills in the preparation of life space of an individual according to Lewin, develop interest in knowing the features of Lewin's field theory, develop desirable positive attitude towards the outcomes of Lewin's field theory. Lewin's field theory. கள கோட்பாட்டு கொள்கை அப்படின்ற ஃபீல்டு தியரி. கள கோட்பாட்டு கொள்கையை ஜெர்மனி உளவியல் அறிஞரான லிவின்ஸ் என்பவரால் 1917 கூறப்பட்டது. வெவினின் கருத்துப்படி ஒருவரின் கற்றல் நடத்தையை புரிந்து கொள்வதற்கு குறிக்கோளை அடையும் முயற்சியில் அவரின் வாழ்க்கை வெளிநிலை மற்றும் புலக்காட்சி ஒழுங்கமைவு பற்றி உணர வேண்டும். இதுதான் லிவின்ஸ் ஃபீல்ட் தியரி. Lewin's field theory of learning. Kurt Lewin, born in 1890, was a German psychologist in USA and worked as professor at the Stanford University of IOWA. He is most renowned of his development of the field theory based on his doctoral dissertation. It was propounded by him in the year 1917. In simple words, the field theory propagated by him proposed that human behavior is a function of both the person and the environment expressed in symbolic terms. B equal to F P dot E. Lewin in his own terminology symbolized P for a psychological person. Note, not just the biological organism, and E for his psychology environment, not the physical and the social environment as exist, and F for the field or life space, denoting the interaction of the psychological person with his psychological environment. You can control the person, but you can design the environment to change behavior. B equal to F into P plus E. Behavior is a function of your person and is an environment. A system of describing human behavior and learning is based mainly on three key concepts and terms. Life space, வாழ்க்கை வெளி, vector and valencies, கவர்ச்சி, and topology. Topology means barrier and motivations also. Lewin's theory of learning. Boundary of life space, psychological environment, vectors, restraining force, vectors driving force, barrier, goal, life space. The life space of person is also known as the psychological field. According to Levin's basic behavior formula, that is B equal to F into P dot E. The psychological field or life space, F is nothing but the result of the interaction between a psychological person P and his psychological environment E. வாழ்க்கை வெளி லைஃப் ஸ்பேஸ். வாழ்க்கை வெளி என்பது தனி மனிதன் வாழக்கூடிய, பதிலளிக்கக்கூடிய அல்லது செயல்படக்கூடிய சுற்றுச்சூழலை குறிப்பதாகும். வாழ்க்கை வெளி என்பது தனி மனிதன் பிற மக்களுடன் செயல்படும் உளவியல் சூழ்நிலையை உள்ளடக்கியது ஆகும். தனி மனிதனின் புலன் காட்சி திறன், சிந்திக்கும் திறன் மற்றும் கற்பனை திறன்களை குறிப்பதாகும். இந்த சூழ்நிலை தனி மனிதனையும் அவனுடைய உளவியல் சூழ்நிலையையும் தொடர்புபடுத்துகிறது. Psychological person as living arguments should not be considered a person identical with a biological organism. A person is neither limited to a mind or body nor a mind and body. He is in fact a conscious self. It represents his psychological self expressed as I or me. He could not be seen in isolation of his psychological environment simply because it is only his environment and it is a psychological perception that helps him in the emergence and devolutions of his self throughout his life. Diagrammatically, a psychological person P is always represented as point P, moving about in his life space, affected by pull and pushed and overcoming the barrier in the way of reaching his goal. Psychological environment. Ordinarily, we mean by one's environment everything external to him in a physical and social context that may affect his learning, development or behavior at one or the other time. Lewin tried to assert that one's psychological environment should not be taken as identical with that of his physical and social environment. It is not one's physical and social environment, but rather its perception that matters much to an individual for behaving in a particular situation. Therefore, perceived situation and the psychological meanings derived by the person out of the available physical and social environment must be taken as his psychological environment at a particular moment in a given situation. A depiction of a life space reflecting Kurt Lewin field theory. Picture. Current state and goal. A psychological person now interacts with psychological environment for the formatting of his psychological field or life space at the particular moment in a given environmental situation related to his life. In a life space, a person and his environment are in the constant stage of mutual interaction and mutual independence. One cannot exist and function without the other. A life space is surrounded by a foreign whole. The aspect of the physical and social environment which to that person at that particular moment are not psychological. That is not included in its psychological environment. Therefore, in a nutshell, one's life space at a particular moment may be termed the space in which one lives psychological at that moment, involving one's own perception and depicting one's own the viewpoint. It includes each and every object, person or idea with which one is concerned at a given time in relation to this goal, and the incentive and barrier one faces of reaching the goal. Therefore, perception is the key concept and core element in the definition and understanding of one's life space. How does one react to this environment, or is self interact with the perceived environment constitutes his life space at the particular moment. The life space of an individual with all its characteristics as advocated by Lewin can be represented by figure. Lewin's theory of learning. Let us now try to analyze the above diagram depicting one's life space at the particular moment in a given situation. A psychological person with his needed and abilities has been shown the central closed circular. He has in his life space is a psychological environmental driving focus and restraining force for attaining his goal. Foreign full of his life space just lies outside the boundary of his life space in a concentric order. One's life space, including his foreign full, providing base for his behavior, learning and development pattern at a particular moment in a given situation. Vector and valencies. Kavarchi, valencies. He used the term vector his field theory for representing a force capable of influencing movement towards or away from the goal. In case there is only one vector, then the movement must be in the direction of the vector, but if there are two or more vectors simultaneously acting in different directions, then the resultant vector arising out of the vector in action will decide the direction as well as the magnitude of the movement towards or away from the goal. The outcome of the vector are thus able to predict dynamic of a relation. What is happening or is likely to happen in terms of the likewise changes introduced in one's life space at a particular time in a given situation. Valency, கவர்ச்சி. கவர்ச்சி என்பது வசீகரம் அல்லது வசீகரமற்ற தன்மை உடைய பொருள். குறிக்கோள் அல்லது செயலின் தேவைகள் வசீகரமாக இருந்தால் அது நேர்மறை கவர்ச்சி எனப்படுகிறது. ஏனெனில் இது பதற்றத்தை குறைக்கிறது. இதற்கு மாறாக குறிக்கோள் அல்லது பொருள் வசீகரமற்றதாக இருந்தால் அதனை எதிர்மறை கவர்ச்சி என்கிறோம். ஏனெனில் இது பதற்றத்தை அதிகரிக்கிறது. இந்த கவர்ச்சியானது மனிதனின் உளவியல் அல்லது உளவியல் அல்லாத காரணிகளை பொறுத்து வலுவுள்ள அல்லது வலுவில்லாத நிலைகளை பெறுகிறது. மகிழ்ச்சி அப்படின்றது குடிக்கிறதுக்கு தண்ணீர் கிடைக்கிற மாதிரி, தாகம் இருந்து குடிக்கிறதுக்கு தண்ணி கிடைக்கிற மாதிரி. வருத்தம் அப்படின்றது தாகம் இருக்கும்போது குடிக்க தண்ணி கிடைக்காத மாதிரி. With regards to the concept of balancing, it can be said that Lewin used two types of balances, positive and negative, for describe their power of attraction and repulsion. According to him, when a person is attracted by a goal or a region of his life stage, that goal or region is said to have a positive valency. On the other hand, if he is repelled, the goal or region of the life space possesses a negative valency. Consequently, the person is likely to be pulled along or pushed away by the positive or negative valency inherent in the region of his life space or goal. Topology. The term topology was borrowed by Lewin from the field of mathematics. In mathematics, this concept is employed to describe the relative position of geometrical figures in a space using terms like inside, outside, and boundary. In this way, topologically, thinking may be described as next to inside or outside one another instead of the usual description in terms of length, breadth, thickness, area, and volume, etc. It is why topology makes no difference between a circle and an ellipse, a regular or irregular polygon with any number of sides. ஒரு தனி மனிதன் அவனுடைய விருப்பமான குறிக்கோள்கள் அடைய பல்வேறு தடைகள், கஷ்டங்கள் மற்றும் பிரச்சனைகளை கடக்க வேண்டும். இந்த கஷ்டங்கள், தடைகள் என்பது தனி மனித வெளியில் உளவியல் மாற்றங்களை விளைவாக ஏற்படும் உடல் அல்லது மன வேறுபாடுன்னு சொல்லலாம். லெவின் என்பவர் கோட்பாட்டில் ஊக்குவித்தலுக்கு முக்கியத்துவம் கொடுக்கப்பட்டு, ஊக்குவித்தல் என்பது குறிப்பிட்ட குறிக்கோள்களுடன் தொடர்புடைய செயலாகும். ஊக்குவித்தலின் அக மற்றும் புற ஊக்கிகள் முக்கியத்துவம் வகிக்கிறது. An ellipse, an irregular polygon, a circle. Topological, there lies no difference among figures drawn above. The topological equivalence may be well demonstrated through an experiment. Take a rubber or an elastic band. Dip it in a red or blue ink or color. Now it stretches in a shape or an ellipse, regular or irregular polygon, circle or many geometrical shapes. You like and place it on the paper for getting various shape and design. The figure you will have on paper will all be considered topology equivalent to one another. Lewin made the best possible use of the above topology concept for representing the structure of life space in such a way as to define the range of possible perception and action. This he achieved by showing the arrangement of functional parts of the life space as several regions and their boundaries, and then their restructuring through the equivalent topological figures. How does Lewin's field theory explain learning and its outcomes? According to the field theory, a person in a given situation always lives in his life space. His perception about his life space providing a cognitive structure to his life space. As a result of this cognitive structure, he, at a particular moment and situation, is well aware of his need, the goal, attraction of arranging the goal and the barrier to attain the goal, etc. The perception of a situation, that is, cognition of one's life space in a particular situation at a particular moment, may give birth to a psychological tension in relation to the realization of the felt needs, that is, attainment of the goal. There are two alternatives for the release of tension, either through reaching a goal or through restructuring one's life space. That is, learning to see things differently. It may be well seen that it is the lateral development that makes one to bring changes in the behavior leading to the process of learning in given situation. Let us illustrate this point with an example. Suppose a bright and ambitious student in a given situation at a particular time period has an ambition to become an IAS officer. He organized his life space to attain this goal. He does not get success. Now there are two alternatives for the release of this tension. He can either repeat the attempt without bringing any change in his life space, or reconstruct the life space of attaining the desired end. The reconstruction of the life space may also involve two different channels. One is to bring change in one method of attempt way of studying, preparation and striving to become IAS officer, and the other is to bring change in the nature of the goal, substituting the higher goal with some other attaining goal. That is, striving for being selected to state card like provincial civil services, for become lecturer in a university or a college. In fact, such reconstructions of life space is essence of one's learning process. Learning starts at the moment one feels the need of bringing some change in his life space and engage oneself in bringing such changes. So, learning is the cognitive structure of one's life space needed of achieving a particular goal or needs of an individual at a particular time in a given situation. The field theory emphasizes that the changes in cognitive structures are generally of three types: differentiation, generalization and restructurization. Generalization. It is another product that arises gradually from his learning. As a definition, it is referred in psychological as a process of deriving valid conclusions through categorization of sub-region into a unified region of one's life space. When a child learns that bananas, apple, orange, mango or fruit, and petrol, diesel, electricity, liquid feed, or compressed natural gases are the source of energy. He is said to reach generalization as a result of his learning. Restructurization. Learning is a never-ending process. Therefore, according to Lewin, the region and sub-region of the life space of an individual always remain in a state of continuous organization and reorganization, and the individual therefore not only differentiates and generalized his life space into new region but also remains engaged in restructuring and reorganizing these regions of his life space so as to provide them new meaning for the better understanding of himself and his environment. Finally, as a result of the process of differentiation and restructuration of the region of his life space, one may be able to enjoy the fruits of his learning in terms of habit formations, developing of things and reasoning power, memorization, problem solving ability, and intelligence for the benefits of himself and the environment. Talent features. Lewin's field theory does not believe that human learning is pushed and pulled by mechanical force, either the stimuli and reinforcement or of unconscious structural impulse. This theory represents a realistic way of viewing the learner and his learning process. Like SR associationist and psychoanalyst, it does not consider the learner as a biological organism who learns some or the other things lying at present in his environment. Rather, it has a strong belief that nothing is perceivable or conservable as the thinking in itself, and therefore everything needs to be perceived or conceived in relation to other lying in one's perceptual field. In the field of psychology, the learner is termed is a psychological person instead of being considered as a biological organism. He has a defined purpose, a goal of his behavior and learning. He does not reach his goal through a serious and mechanical like even stimulus response chain reaction, or though banking upon his past experience, habit, etc. Nor is he driven by his instinctive actions and unconscious motivation, etc. He definitely acts purposeful by bringing desirable changes in the cognitive structure of his life space. That is, using needed insight for perceiving the thinking in the right perceiving and choosing the right available alternative for reaching the goal. Reality in the language of psychology is not defined in absolute terms as happened in the case of SR theories and scientists. Reality is one that is perceived by the person himself in relation to his environment at a particular time in a given situation. He perceiving the things in his own ways and the meaning given to things through his own perception is the reality concerning those thinking. Therefore, the situations or environment, internal as well as external conditions, has a great significance in the teaching learning process as they can make a psychological person to perceive the learning field in one or the other way, depending upon to inherent needs, incentives and the barriers for reaching the objectives of learning and getting desired success. The term behavior has a unique meaning in the field psychology. Here it is described not in physical terms, but in terms of what exists at a particular moment in a particular situation for the psychological person whose behavior is under study. While SR theories and psychoanalytic traits to make generalized predictions about the learning and behavior on the lines of what leads to what, Lewin concentrated on the prediction of behavior of individual persons in the specific life space. According to him, every learner has his own life space, consisting of himself and his psychological environment, including, for example, the organization or reorganization of his life space, resulting in his learning or behavior in a particular way at a particular time. Since every learner has his own life space, his own way of perception, that is, interaction with the environment depending upon his own needs, values and behavior for realizing the goal and his own individuality as a psychological person, it is not feasible to have generalized prediction about the term and conditions for learning and behavior in a particular way, in a particular teaching learning situation. Summary. According to Lewin's basic behavior formula, that is B equal to F into P into E, the psychological field or life space F is nothing but the result of the interaction between a psychological person and the psychological environment. The system of describing human behavior and learning is based mainly on three key concepts and terms. One is life space, vector and valency, third one topology. Educational implications. The teacher should present the whole problem and evoke the cognitive and emotional readiness in the lesson of optimum learning. In order to achieve optimum communication and meaningful give and take, a teacher should try to work out the life stage of each student in his class. Motivation is an important factor in bringing changes in the cognitive structure of a student. In order to motivate the student, the teacher has to identify both the driving as well as the restraining forces present in the life stage of each student. Some references for books. Check your progress. True or false? The preparation of life phase of an individual according to Lewin. True or false? Answer is true. The preparation of life phase of an individual according to Lewin is correct answer. Question number 2. B equal to F into P dot E. Lewin in his own terminology symbolized P for a psychological person. Answer true or false? Answer is true. B equal to Sp dot E. Lewin in his own terminology symbolized P refers to psychological person. It's true. Thank you.